Hello everyone, this is Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. I definitely appreciate you tuning in today. This is a sad day for Black America and for America as a whole, as we've lost Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest civil rights icons and athletes, definitely of the 20th century. And as we look back at Ali, we look back with rose-colored lenses at how America viewed him, and don't quite remember how contextualizing what he did is the only way you can appreciate it. Here's a man who basically put himself on the line and had a lot to lose. Not just the heavyweight championship, his life itself. I mean, here's a man who declared himself a Muslim and then essentially said, I will not go fight in Vietnam, and knew that would have drastic impacts. As we sit and we watch all of this transpire, what we have to remember, what we have to clearly remember, is that Ali wasn't beloved, particularly by white America, when all of this went down. He wasn't beloved by a lot of older blacks that had fought in wars or had, been in armed services or for that matter, just didn't want to rock the boat. And I think that you can't appreciate Ali until you really step into that world where it was divisive and divided, and he was seen as a draft dodger by a lot of powerful people. He was seen as a draft dodger by a lot of African American people. And I think that now, as we look back and we have this overarching love for him, and we have a greater global acceptance of other religions, of other colors, we as a nation can appreciate him as a man. Ali and his passing is a bit different for me. I've seen several of our celebrities, particularly musicians, have passed away, and condolences have went to their families on my part, but this feels different. It really does feel like a part of the civil rights movement has passed right along with him. I'm not sure if other people feel that way, but I combine his decaying body with that of the Civil Rights Act, with that of the affirmative action, with that of the Voting Rights Act, and it really feels like we're in a transitionary period, and it's upon us to actually take this and make steps to push this thing forward. I wanted to start off with a bit of a small video, about a minute long, just to kind of pay tribute to the man and his legacy before I continue on.
The only thing that makes Muhammad Ali like other fighters is the fact that he went on way too long.
I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be what I want to be and think what I want to think, right?
Took a glass and a felt tip pen and traced around the glass so he had a circle, and then he drew in continents. And then he nudged me and he pointed at it. He said, I used to be champion of all that.
Stay in the world as a heavyweight champion. And I'm not just going to be ordinary heavyweight champion.
I saw Sonny Liston a few days ago, Sergeant.
Ain't he ugly? He's too ugly to be the world champ. The world champ should be pretty like me.
Well, he told me to bet my life that you wouldn't go 3 rounds.
Well, if you want to lose your money, then bet on punch.
Time may have come to say goodbye to Muhammad Ali.
It's really the impossibility of Ali that makes this such an astonishing story. Normally, if you're talking about the greatest, they have some physical advantage over the rest of the competition. Ali was known for his great speed, and I think that was the saving grace of it. For his boxing is that for a man that size, he had great speed, but he was not overbearing. He was not the physical specimen that George Foreman was. And you got to remember, he was boxing for 15 to 20 years. He was the heavyweight champ. And I think the other thing that for us today is hard to see is there's no transcendent sport the way that boxing was in the 60s. It was the sport. Heavyweight boxing was the sport. Being the heavyweight champ was like right next to being president, maybe, or somewhere near it. Like today, I don't care about the NBA, the NFL. There, even like the lighter boxers, like Mayweather. There's no comparative like way for you to understand just how big Ali was, because he was the heavyweight champ and how he did it, the showmanship. As we start and we look at like our more modern examples of it, you can't help but see Ali for the greatness that he was. As we look at Floyd, and I don't have nothing against Floyd, but I will say, I mean, for all of Floyd's base simplicity, Ali was complex. For all of Floyd's flaunting of money, Ali was of the people. And in barbershops, for all of the sponsorships, Ali was, you're going to accept me for who I am, and it's probably going to lead me to getting no sponsorships. McDonald's wasn't trying to slap their name on the nation, on Muhammad Ali. They might have done it on Cassius, but Cassius was long gone. And so, you know, nothing against Floyd, nothing against LeBron, but the gravity of what we lost, the gravity of what Ali represented, people really just need to sit back, watch some of these specials with their children, and understand this man Ali was truly the greatest. He was so great that he changed Dr. King's mind on the war. You know, Dr. King didn't want to rock the boat on civil rights with Lyndon Johnson. And Ali, through his acts and his sacrifice, made Dr. King understand this is just as big an issue. For African Americans that are mistreated in this country to go fight in Vietnam, he felt was just as big an issue. And he made Dr. King see that. And that's just powerful. And the hope is that we can move this forward and start doing much of the same. So, you know, my personal feelings is that Ali was the greatest. I mean, of course, you definitely say from his acts inside of the ring, but for me, Muhammad Ali was the greatest athlete in American history, not for his tier 1 boxing nor prophetic boasts, but rather for him and all that he was to a race and a nation when they needed him most, despite their own denial. With his passing, it feels as though we're losing a piece of the civil rights movement, losing a connection to a time when morals transcended money, losing a bit of the inspirational versions of ourselves. I've written extensively on the Decadent Veil, on Black Celebrity. I've written on Ali and his time period and the difference, you know, and how here you have a man who people are not really like, I think, contextualizing how and what he put up when he said, I'm not going to Vietnam. People are not contextualizing what he risked by changing his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali and following the message of following Elijah Muhammad and the nation. And I think we can only start to understand this thing looking at the end result, but not fully grasping what it was like to go through the ride. When you look back at the New York Times, which I'm going to pull up from April 29th, 1967, it states, the New York State Athletic Commission, in a statement issued by Edwin Dooley, the chairman, announced it had unanimously decided to suspend Clay's boxing license indefinitely and to withdraw recognition of him as world heavyweight champion. The actions taken by the governing authorities of boxing make it virtually impossible for Clay to box in the United States. This is the official New York Times article. I mean, they would not recognize him as Muhammad Ali. They continuously called him Clay. But more importantly, what people aren't understanding about his 3.5 years missed is that when he actually decided not to go to Vietnam, the greater possibility at that moment was that he would never box again. There would be no Foreman, no Frazier, that he would never box again. That was it. And I don't think that people really grasp that he had risked everything for himself and his family, and that his convictions led a nation, a people, a race forward so far, and only now, as he finally passes on, will we be able to look back and start to grasp it. I say start because fundamentally you can't help but recognize that part of the motivating act was that he too could not eat at the table. So you know, colors not allowed applied to him as well. Whereas today in the modern era, if you do have capital, you can gain access to that table. The only problem is that very few of us African Americans have capital to get to that table. So for me, coming back to it, that motivator that connected black people across all economic lines shifted some. And with that shift, it made it harder for us all to see ourselves as what we are, which is black. And, you know, Ali has this great clip, which I'm going to show you guys in a second, where he really kind of goes in. I used it on a couple pieces. I think I used it on my all hip-hop piece, and on black males and the conflicted existence that they have. But it definitely like just frames his idea of success and celebrity. And he basically says that, you know, he couldn't be successful and on a yacht alone. What's the point of doing this if I'm not going to be out at the barbershops, if I'm not going to be around my people?
In our boxing, when it comes to the freedom of your people. So everything I'm doing, if it means hitchhike tomorrow, if it means be raggedy, if it means look for a job, I'll be happy because I can go to bed, my conscience is clear, and I didn't sell out or trade my people just because I could be rich in Hollywood with a yacht out here on my, that could be my yacht right there. Imagine it's valued at $200,000, but I wouldn't want that damn yacht if I couldn't go back over in the black neighborhood and protest a black woman being raped. The hell with the yacht, the hell with the championship. So I want the people to know this.
And I think today's black celebrity, let me say, kind of lost sight of that dynamic of it all in the midst of all the success and the wins. You know, they lost sight of the fact that as a group, 42 million people, 14 million homes, black America is suffering. And your platform gives you an opportunity to speak for more than yourself and your immediate. And Ali was that person who did do that, who spoke for, when you listen back to stories, you know, they haven't even covered this that much, but in the later years, Ali was boxing for other boxers. There was I watched this documentary where other boxers talked about how Ali effectively gave them the opportunity to get a platform. He didn't have to take the fight. And so like he took these fights for these African American boxers, and he wasn't the same Ali. Ali knew he wasn't the same Ali, but he knew without them getting that fight that they might not ever get a chance to get to that stage. And in this documentary they all like kind of like thanked him in the end, and no one represents that more than Foreman. I've never seen, let me say, a set of athletes that despised each other so much, and that after the time has passed and they look back, really spoke so highly of each other. Particularly how Foreman speaks of Ali. I think one of the things that you get when you look back at Ali is hubris, ego. But he laced that ego with so much humility, and it was just astonishing, a wonderful thing to watch. I mean, he spent a lot of time like talking about Joe Frazier in a bad way. You know, I'm so pretty. Joe Frazier looks like a gorilla, and that's one of the things that I've heard that he really regretted looking back. You know, you got to remember that Ali was a young man, and I think sometimes for all of our athletes, we forget that. You know, these are 20-something-year-old men, and they learning along the way. And you have people in your ear, and that's no excuse. But for him to then later say, like apologize for that, and he did, knowing that it might have had impact on Frazier's child or his wife, having those kind of things said about an African American in the public light so many years later. In the public light so broadly. As if there aren't enough white people calling us gorillas and monkeys. And so I think Ali was the ultimate showman, but he also was the ultimate civil rights activist. And he also was the ultimate boxer. Because if he wasn't a good boxer and all of this, he wouldn't have, none of this would have mattered. I mean, you got to, Sonny Liston and George Foreman were like Tyson. They were like Tyson in terms of like just their overall like presence. This man went in there and he did it when he was young. They said he was too young. He did it against Liston. And then he came back and they said he was too old and he did it against Foreman. He was I mean his corner thought he was going to die against Foreman. Not like die and get like his ribs broke, like die in the ring. That's how menacing Foreman was. And so, you know, when somebody is able to call themselves the greatest, will themselves into being the greatest, and then take that energy and be willing to give it all away for the betterment of a people, you can't do nothing but say hats off. And that's why today, you know, I kind of wanted to take the time to give my condolences to his family, and also to say, you are the greatest, Ali, and you'll never be forgotten. Rest in peace.